But I think laying the foundation for this is what we have to do to compete at a championship level.
Yeah.
Like this is why home court matters. This is why you can't have off day. This is why we can't be 11th in the league in defense, right? Like we got to get to at least middle of the pack. You know, all of those different things. And so as a competitor, it's exciting.
Did you hear what Stephanie White just said about Caitlin Clark? It's not what anyone expected. The Indiana Fever's new head coach dropped a bombshell in her latest interview, and
it's exciting to coach generational talents.
Yeah.
You know, and that outweighs the other stuff that we might have to deal with.
White didn't just praise Clark, she revealed something that could change the entire landscape of the WNBA. Are you ready to hear the truth about the league's newest superstar and the coach who's known her since she was in middle school? Stick around, because Coach White wasn't the only coach in that interview. There's another rival coach that just revealed an amazing story about Clark that you wouldn't believe. Are you ready? Let's go.
Do I think it's going to be a seamless transition? No. I mean, it's going to take some time. And just like any young team, I mean, you don't get back-to-back number one picks by being really talented early, right? Just like any young team, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
You know, and we got to put some pieces together, and we've got to continue to build. So managing expectations is going to be important.
Picture this: a packed gym, the air thick with anticipation among the crowd. Sits Stephanie White, her eyes locked on a young player who's dribbling circles around her opponents. But this isn't just any player. It's an 8th grade Caitlin Clark. Can you believe it? CL.
Watching Caitlin Clark when she was in the 8th grade when I was at Vanderbilt.
How about that?
And then I called a lot of her games in college when she was at Iowa. And so I've really watched her continue to learn and grow, and I have great relationships with her college coaches, and had multiple conversations with them throughout the course of her career about what the next steps would be, right? And what the next level would be.
Moreover, White has been watching Clark's every move. She's had a front row seat to Clark's incredible journey from middle school prodigy to college superstar. But here's where it gets interesting. White wasn't just a passive observer. She was analyzing, studying, and yes, even dreaming about coaching this phenomenal talent one day.
Caitlin isn't just great for women's basketball. She is great for the entire game. She's more than just points.
She absolutely is. I mean, let's not forget, this is a young woman who led the nation in assists as well. She's accomplished records that haven't ever been accomplished in the sport of collegiate basketball.
Now, fast forward to today. White's not just praising Clark. She's revealing how this long-term observation has shaped her understanding of Clark's game. It's like she's been preparing for this moment her entire career. Are you ready for this? White drops a bombshell in her interview, sharing insights that only someone who's watched Clark's entire journey could have.
You know, I'm looking forward to, you know, when you think about Caitlin Clark and a generational talent, and, you know, the sometimes overlooked Kelsey Mitchell, who's been like one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen from the time I was covering her at Big Ten Network, watching her at Ohio State. And then Aaliyah Boston, who, you know, prior to Caitlin Clark coming on the scene, was another generational talent and is, right? Like, so it's like you think about the pieces that we have and putting that all together.
White's words paint a picture. Clark is more than just a basketball player. She's a cultural phenomenon, a generational talent that comes once in a lifetime. The way White talks about Clark, it's clear she sees something special, something that goes beyond just stats and scoreboards. And here's the kicker: White's excitement about coaching Clark and the Fever is palpable. She can barely contain herself when she says what an outstanding moment we have in women's basketball right now. I am thankful and grateful for it. It's like White knows she's about to be part of something big, something that could change the game forever.
I hope, number one, for Caitlin, that I can be a resource. You know, I didn't have the same stuff that she has on a global scale. You know, thankfully we didn't have social media at the time, which amplifies everything. But I've been through it on a smaller scale, and so hopefully I can help her navigate, you know, some of the extra stuff, while pushing her to be her best and challenging her to step outside of her comfort zone on the floor.
But let's not forget, this isn't just about Clark. White's insights give us a glimpse into the future of the Fever. She's not just excited about coaching Clark, she's thrilled about the team they're building. You can almost feel the anticipation in her voice when she talks about the upcoming season. I have the advantage of I was an opponent, right? And so scouting her, and this is what we try to do to make you uncomfortable. This is how we weave game playing for you. And again, being that straight shooter, like, okay, like these are that we need to improve them, you know, and putting those pieces together. while also thinking about the holistic version of this team that we have who is incredibly gifted on the offensive end of the floor. Yeah, I mean, no offense is what I love And so being able trying to think about all these things that we can do, and White's decade-long connection to Clark isn't just a cool fact, it's a game changer, it means. She understands Clark's strengths, her weaknesses, and her potential in a way that no other coach could. She's seen Clark grow, adapt, and overcome challenges. She's witnessed firsthand the work ethic and determination that's made Clark the player she is today. Heck, we had a staff meeting a couple weeks ago in India, and it was like, guys, we got to scale it back. We're not going to be able to do all of this in year one. We're not going to be able to do all of this in training camp. Like, we're going to be able to. So staying ahead of the curve and watching all of these, NBA games and EuroLeague games and thinking about things that we can do is really exciting to me. Let's rewind the clock a bit. Remember when Caitlin Clark was lighting up college basketball, Stephanie White was their microphone in hand. But she wasn't just another analyst gushing over a star player. No, White saw something in Clark that others missed. She didn't just focus on the flashy plays and jaw-dropping stats. White was analyzing Clark's court vision, her basketball IQ, her ability to make her teammates better. In one of her broadcasts, White dropped a bombshell about Clark's game. She said, "I think she reads a game better than other stars." That's huge, folks. White wasn't just praising Clark's scoring ability. She was highlighting the intangibles that make a good player great.
Have the advantage of I was an opponent, right? And so scouting her and this is what we try to do to make you uncomfortable. This is how we game planned for you. And again, being that straight shooter, like, okay, like these are the areas that we need to improve. And putting those pieces together while also thinking about the holistic version of this team that we have, who is incredibly gifted on the offensive end of the floor. Offense is what I love. And so being able, trying to think about all these things that we can do. And
fast forward to Clark entering the WNBA, the hype was real, but so was the pressure. And who was there standing firm in Clark's corner? You guess it, Stephanie White. When Clark lost her first 2 WNBA games, the critics came out in full force. But White, she wasn't having any of it. She stood up and defended Clark, reminding everyone that even the greatest players need time to adjust.
Heck, we had a staff meeting a couple of weeks ago in Indy, and it was like, guys, we got to scale it back. We're not going to be able to do all of this in year one. We're not going to be able to do all of this in training camp. Like, we're going to be able to. So staying ahead of the curve and watching all of these, NBA games and EuroLeague games and thinking about the things that we can do is really exciting to me.
Now picture this: White coaching against Clark in the playoffs. You'd think she'd be focused on stopping her wrong. Even then, White couldn't help but express excitement about the Fever's future with Clark. It's like she knew something we didn't. And then the moment we've all been waiting for, White gets the Fever coaching job. And who's the first person? She calls Caitlin Clark. Can you imagine that conversation? White couldn't contain her excitement. She said, "I spoke with Caitlin last night, and I think just overall excitement. That's not just a coach talking to a player. That's 2 people who know they're about to do something special. What's your approach when you're coaching greatness like that?" Yeah, I think. First and foremost, Caitlin
Clark is just at the epitome of the intersection of social media, of pop culture, and fan engagement in a way that we've never seen. And she's moving the needle forward for all athletes.
Talking basketball, right? Just having general basketball conversations. So about what she's watching, what she likes, what are some of the things what are some of her thoughts from, not just what the Indiana Fever have done, but from the game of basketball in general. But here's where it gets really interesting. White's coaching philosophy is all about maximizing player potential. She's not just looking to win games. She's looking to build something lasting.
Looking at all these things that people are talking about with Caitlin Clark, it's like, guys, chill out. Like, she's going to be fine. Like, it's 2 games in. Are you kidding me? She's a student of the game. She got better every year. You're not going to just absorb all of the new information that's coming at you in 2 games, in 2 weeks. It takes time. And she will. I have no doubt about it. She's a student of the game. She continues to get better. And these are also points that coaches then address. Hey, let's continue to work on this.
When talking about coaching Clark and the Fever, White said this is the moment we've been waiting for. That's not just excitement. That's a coach who knows she has all the pieces to create something extraordinary. Picture this. It's a pivotal moment in the game between Iowa.
Yeah, it's exciting. Certainly
I was born and raised in Indiana, and so have a lot of pride in Indiana basketball, and a lot of pride in the Fever organization, being a player and a coach there. And it's exciting what's happening with the organization and where they are. I mean, most organizations have their ups and downs, certainly. But I'm proud of the growth of the Indiana Fever. Excited, about the future of the Indiana Fever.
And Purdue, the tension is thick, and everyone's on the edge of their seats. Purdue's coaching staff thinks they've got the perfect plan to stop the unstoppable Caitlin Clark, but they're about to learn a hard lesson about expecting the unexpected. Clip 10. Purdue coach Kelly Kamar had it all figured out. They were going to foul Clark before she could get a shot off simple. Right, well, not when you're dealing with a player like Caitlin Clark. Clip 11. Here's where things get wild. Clark, with her incredible court awareness, somehow overhear the coach's plan as Purdue Jayla Smith moves into foul Clark. Does something that leaves everyone speechless. She throws up a shot, turns around, without even looking, and swish, whatever you're scheming, whatever you're thinking you're going to try like. I mean, we all just did our best, right? Just did the best we could, and at the end of the day, it was what it was, but somebody like that, everybody has to kind of cross their fingers and then kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks with her. And now here's the kicker. The shot didn't even count because the foul was called before Clark released the ball. But that's not the point. In that split second, Clark had shown everyone in the arena why she's in a league of her own. Kamar, recounting this story later, couldn't help but laugh at the sheer impossibility of it all. It's a funny way of saying what we all know. Trying to contain Caitlin Clark is like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. But it was pretty cool to experience Mackey Arena and Caitlin Clark at the same time. I mean, it was pretty fun, this moment, this impossible shot. It's more than just a highlight reel play. It's a perfect example of what makes Clark so special, her ability to read the game, to anticipate what's coming, and to turn even the most hopeless situations into magic. That's what sets her apart. Think about it, how many players can say they've made a shot without looking at the basket while being fouled after overhearing the other team's plan. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a movie, not in a real college basketball game. We had a lot more defensive weapons at our disposal. So and it's I don't know how any college team really can prepare for a Caitlin Clark, because you can't do it with one person, and you can't do it one-on-one, right? Like it is a whole five-in team effort. So let me just preface all that before you go, but that's Caitlin Clark for you. She doesn't just play the game, she rewrites the rules of what's possible on a basketball court. It's this kind of extraordinary talent, an instinct that has coaches like Stephanie White so excited about the future. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. The Indiana Fever isn't just making a few changes, they're orchestrating a complete transformation, and at the center of it all, you guess it, Caitlin Clark. Picture this: the Fever's front office, once struggling, is now shaping up to be a powerhouse. They brought back Kelly Krakoff as team president. Remember her, she's the mastermind behind the Fever's 2012 championship team. But that's not all. They've also snagged Amber Cox as their new GM, and Cox is known for her sharp eye for talent and deep understanding of the league. It's our job then as coaches to continue to put them in positions to succeed, and our job as a franchise to put the pieces around them that will fill some of the gaps and fill some of the holes. And ultimately our goal was to win championships and to hang banners. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Fever didn't just hire any coach, they brought back Stephanie White. It's like they're assembling a basketball dream team with Clark as the centerpiece. White's not just talking about winning a few games here and there. No, she's got her sights set on something much bigger: championships, multiple championships. Are you ready for this? White sees Clark as more than just a star player. She sees her as the foundation of a dynasty. But here's the kicker: it's not just about Clark. White's talking about a three-headed monster with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Can you imagine trying to defend against that trio? It's enough to give any opposing coach nightmares. Not bringing in my system and my style, and this is the way that we're going to do it, but really adapting and blending some of what we wanted to do or thought we could do with what they had already done that's been very successful. But White's vision doesn't stop at offense. She's made it clear that defense is just as crucial. She wants the Fever to be a force to be reckoned with on both ends of the court. It's not just about outscoring opponents. It's about shutting them down too. First and foremost, it's a mindset you've got to be committed to it. And so establishing that this is going to be a part of our DNA and a part of who we are right away. And it's going to be important. Let's talk about Aaliyah Boston for a second. This young star has been making waves since day one. She was the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 WNBA draft. and has already been named an All-Star twice. Now imagine her growing alongside Clark. It's a combination that could redefine what we expect from a WNBA team. And don't forget about Kelsey Mitchell-White can't stop raving about her, saying she just had the best year of her career with Clark running the point. Mitchell's game could reach even greater heights, and not to mention key veterans such as Lexie Hull and Grace Berger in the mix.